So this car doesn't have the same suspension as it would have in real life. The springs are very soft, which it probably has soft springs. However, the dampers are non-adaptive dampers in Gran Turismo. They still don't simulate adaptive dampers in the game, and so they don't transfer that into the game. And the problem with that is the cars with the, if you have the default or the stock natural frequencies on a road going car, they're going to be soft. But if you don't have the adaptive dampers that would be equipped on the car is not going to perform the same. And these are my updated settings. So the car is very composed, very stable. The only real issue with the default settings is that it's a soft suspension, pretty much. I'm going to show what it's like to drive that right now. So switch to the default. For the detailed settings, as you can see, the natural frequencies are relatively soft. However, for road-going cars, a 1.4 is pretty stiff. I always use my car as an example. The natural frequency on my car in the front is about 0.8 hertz, and this is a 1.4 and a 1.8 in the rear, and it's give or take a sum, so 0.85, maybe 0.88, I don't know. That'd be closer to 1, or closer to 0.9, I mean. And anyway, on also these differential settings are very open, making the car easy to turn, but very unpredictable in slides. So that makes it hard to push the car, essentially. And as you can see, there's a lot of aero. So first take a look at the downforce settings. A lot of aero in the rear and very little in the front, so it wants to understeer a lot at high speeds and on throttle. However, they have a lot of rake on the under tray here. So at low speeds, the car wants to oversteer a lot, and especially on the brakes. In conjunction with the soft springs, having high rake on the under tray causes a lot of instability on the brakes. So let's drive the car. Now if I drive under the limit, it's pretty well composed. Oh, not like that. Pretty well composed. A little bit of push there on the exit. And to lift off throttle coming around the corner. And just notice that nosedive on the brakes. Maybe you can see it here, a little bit here. Actually, I want to stay in third. There we go. Pay attention to the nosedive on the brakes here. It just dives a lot. Take it easy on throttle because it will snap loose. Has 500 horsepower with grippy tires. So after it loses its high grip traction, it really does not want to stick at all. And a lot of oversteer on the brakes here. Just counter steering into the corner. Very, very stable on throttle though. A lot of push on throttle. There's that oversteer. I think I can take this full throttle. Yes. There's a push, a lift, push on throttle, and a lift for that turn. That's usually a flat out S-bend in most cars, even high horsepower cars. Broke a little bit too late there. Let's see if I can take this corner better. A little bit of oversteer and push on throttle. It sticks, so it does stick on throttle, which is very nice, but in certain situations it's not nice. And try another lap. Stay in third here this time. Now I'm trying to drive in a more composed manner. I think it's still going to oversteer here. Should stick on throttle. Yeah, it does. Okay, careful on the steering. Let's see if I can take this flat out this time. Takes a lot of curb. It just about makes it. Very difficult to stay flat out there. Oh, lift throttle over that crest. Just about flat out, almost. Not quite actually. Oh, a lot of oversteer this time. Not exactly the fast way through the corner, but I made it. That's a pretty good time for these tires. Alright, on to the new settings. And these are the new settings. And no modifications. Made a brake balance controller change though. This is the new brake balance controller setting. And this is tuned specifically for the sports soft tire. However, I'm going to be driving with the sports hard tire because that's what I was driving with on the previous settings. So to improve the performance, there's a weird aero issue with having the high rake. So I lowered the whole car a little bit. I want some range off of the bump stops, so I don't have it at the minimum ride height setting. And I want some rake, and it's about 2.5 centimeters of rake, which can be quite a bit for certain cars, but for this car it's not that bad. Took out all the anti-roll bar because I have the stiff natural frequency to compensate the oversteer on the brakes. As you can see, I moved the brake bias forward, and I have a stiff front end. Makes the car less wobbly. The car doesn't dive as much, so it's less pitch sensitive on the brakes, the aerodynamics that is. And the rake that I have set here is to compensate for the high rear downforce and the low front downforce. And now the differential settings. This is specifically for making the slides more predictable. It doesn't just snap loose and then become uncatchable. It will kind of telegraph the slide. It'll gradually go into the slide so that you can react to it in a reasonable reaction time. If a car snaps loose too quickly, a person can't react quick enough to how fast it snaps. But if it snaps slowly or slower, it is easier to catch the car. And that's what these differential settings are supposed to do. And onto the drive. So the car does not push as much on throttle. And that also means you have to be careful on throttle because it has 500 or some odd horsepower. And even with the really grippy tires, sports tires, it can still break traction. Like that. It's easily catchable. Much more composed on the brakes in this section here. A little bit of throttle overs here. So the car doesn't push as much here, so it's actually a little bit sketchy to stay on throttle through that, over that curb, that is. Gotta lift over the curb. But it's a lot easier to take that chicane, and it doesn't lift on crests. I mean, the front end doesn't lift off the ground on that crest anymore. A little bit too much steering input for how much throttle I gave it. Brake a little bit deep there. A little wide on the apex. Careful on throttle here, it can snap loose a little bit depending on how much steering input I put in. A lot of curve this time, a little too much. And a lot of curve this time here too. Took a little tighter apex. Take a lot of curve here, and hopefully a little bit of curve here. Still pushes a little bit at the high speed. Oh, late on the brakes. Very late on the brakes. Supposed to be fourth gear here. I'm gonna do another lap to kind of ruin that hairpin. I want to get in the 15s. Pushing a little bit too hard. Had a pretty good first sector, so being a little bit behind might be alright. I'm pretty far behind though. Much easier to push this car, though I'm overdriving. Let's see if I can make the braking zone this time. Still not going to get in the 15s though, maybe. Had a bad last sector. At the apex, close enough. Okay, it's in the 15s. Could gain about 3/10 on my time, but I got in the 15s. Let's check out that replay. What lap is this? Third lap? Skip ahead to the third lap. There we go. Very nice looking car. I don't like the rear wheel arches. I think they should have made that part of the bodywork. I mean, like, it is part of the bodywork, but having the different material there seems kind of strange. At this point, I was almost 2/10 back. Till the next one.